You want to fight crime? Let's get dangerous.
Well, it didn't do the last bit of it saying that it was showtime, but yes, it is. It is that time once again on a Saturday that we do from the Desk of the Small Press Publisher. I'm your host, Joe D. McPhee, and hopefully you guys are recovering from a lot of eating, a lot of drinking, and the loud noises all last night here. Why? Because yesterday was the 4th of July, so happy Independence Day or happy post Independence Day to everybody in the United States here and across the world here. And it's like I know most other countries don't celebrate the United States Day of Independence, but it happened yesterday, all day yesterday. So now we're kind of like recovering for all of the different barbecues, the fireworks, and all the other stuff here. And trust me here, there's going to be more people shooting off fireworks even tonight and all this weekend and everything to that magnitude here. But nevertheless, let's go ahead and get the business end of a couple of things out the way, such as stupid o'clock happening 1 hour into the show. That's considering the fact that if we do have a shortened show today, it won't be 1 hour in because we probably won't go into the second hour. That is followed up by Last Man Standing at 1 a.m. Eastern. Then you get a little bit of a respite until Monday, where you have Nicholas Tucker and Nevermind the Furthermore. And let's not forget about Comic Book Spectrum, 7 o'clock Central Standard Time, 8 p.m. Eastern here. Hopefully we'll be getting over a lot of our technical difficulties on Thursdays here. It seems like we got either myself or Elaine or the both of us having connection issues on here, but I just read a notification that there was instability within StreamYard here over the last couple of weeks, and they're currently working on it. So that is always a great thing here. Normally I go right into new comic books for the week. We do have new comic books for the week. They're sitting right here. I didn't do a pre-recorded new comic books pickups for the week here. And yes, I did go to storage, but I didn't want to do like a pre-recorded one, because if I would have did a pre-recorded one, that would have meant that I would have to go to storage in some brutal hot weather. And I just like, no, I'm going to do my normal routine here, get up, do the shower thing and everything, get up, be up and out the house early. That way I could get there early and leave early, and I could come back at a decent time, and I just only have to suffer the hot weather only on the way back and not there. So with that being stated here, we seem like we got people watching as of right now. So here it is, new comic book pickups for the week here. And we're going to start off new comic book pickups for the week with Challengers of the Unknown number 45. We got a gradable copy of that now. This is more or less a gradable copy that I picked up from Whatnot here. That is a nice gradable copy here. Little to no spine ticks, but there's like, you know, like little bitty dings, as I would call them. You know, just minor stuff here. I know I'm not looking for like a 9.8 of this, but anything that is like 8.5 and above is nice. And I think this is going to be somewhere around that 7.5, 8.5 range. And then I'm still on the verge of completing Doom Patrol Volume 3. And when I say on the verge, we got the majority of the last part of it that was missing, except for 2 issues here, I believe. I don't have a issue 14 and 15 as of yet. So I'm still going to be looking for that here. But we got from Volume 3, from Doom Patrol, we got Doom Patrol 10. From Volume 3, 11. Another copy of 12. Another copy of 13. Then we got 16. Another copy of 17. 18. 19. 20. 21. And the last issue of Volume 3, 22. So that's pretty much everything that came in the mail this week here. It has been a light mail week for me, as far as stuff that have been bought and stuff that I've been waiting to arrive here and everywhere. And looks like we got, oh, there they are. Well, hello. You guys are just got here just as I was finishing up new comic book pickups for the week here. So we got that taken care of here. And for those who've been taking consideration of accountability, we're almost finished with the prequel story for Carnival de Giganta Femme. That prequel story is almost done. I'm just about finishing up page 5, and page 6 of part 4 ends that particular story here. It is a 24-page story, but we broke it up into 4 or 6 page chapters for the anthology book. So that means that story will run in four issues of Legends of the Giantess Slayer. So we got that going here. Yeah, Beanie says Doom Patrol is like, he likes it. Yeah, I only missing 2 issues for I could complete Volume 3. Then I could pretty much say that I got all of the Doom Patrol except for Weight of Worlds and a handful of books from Volume 2. And yeah, that would pretty much be it here. That would pretty much be it to have all of them here. Which 2? Volume 2. I'm talking about Volume 2, not which 2. Volume 2. Actually, I think it's 3 issues, not 2. And I found my run of Checkmate from Volume 2 in storage today, so I finally have that entered into CLZ. But now you got me looking up Doom Patrol in the middle of the show, which is never a good thing. The 3 issues that I'm missing: 32, 79, and 83. No, I said, oh, I'm missing 2 issues. Oh, I thought you caught that. It was issues, issues 14 and 15. Yeah, 14 and 15. Volume 3 that I'm missing. And Volume 2 is 32, 70, 79, and 83. And then from Weight of Worlds, I believe it's like the majority of that series. From Weight of Worlds, I'm missing issues 2, 4, 5, 6, and 7. But outside of that, it's pretty much almost a complete run of Doom Patrol from that point. But getting back to the accountability, yes, that story is almost done. once I have that done, I have to think about what other stories in the anthology series that I have to finish up. We're getting close to having 3 issues of that ready. So, keeping fingers crossed here. If worst comes to worst for next year, I could go ahead and release that series. That's worst comes to worst. That's just assuming that I won't get Primetime Saturday Night number 7. No, 6. 7, 6. I lost track of numbers. And like I said, accountability. I got my drafting tape now. So since I got my drafting tape, you know what that means. Amazonia 8 is coming soon, because that way I can use the table behind me to start actual penciling of that issue here. So that's another good sign here. So we're getting there. We're getting there. And we're still on top of our goal of trying to get a year's worth of these titles ready to go in-house. We're still going to release them. We're still going to release them in, on our website at shows and everything. But before we go to a actual physical distributor, I still want to have that year leeway to still have like a year's worth of books that could be, as they get ordered, we just print them up, send them out, print them up, send them out, print them up, send them out. But that comes back to the whole nature of what the topic is for today. Just me trying to keep from being canceled. From those who've been keeping scorecards as far as what's been going on with Diamond and everything here, I believe it was Bleeding Cool that wrote an article saying that Dynamite Entertainment may not make payroll because of what happened with Diamond. And it made people think about a lot of different things, but it comes back down to something, a show that I did with Brian K. Morris right here on this particular show here, where even like the mid majors to smaller publishers have to, kind of like tighten their belt because of this type of thing, because of what actually happened with Diamond going away and certain bills that Diamond is not paying certain bills and everything, and what people are owed. And because of that, it is what it is here. And you have to tighten your belt. You have to stop thinking about all of these multiple covers. You got to start thinking about what is best to keep the company going. And for a company like Dynamite Entertainment to not reach their payroll because of this speaks volumes as far as whether or not they're going to try to do the right thing by their people. And again, to me, it's like you don't really need 25 covers of Red Sonja, whatever issue that they're at. 2, 3 at best. One is only what is needed here. But I get it, people want to buy all these different variant covers, and there's money to be made from that. But we're not in a sustained place comic book wise when it comes to distributors and all the other stuff here. But if they're not able to make payroll because of what happened with Diamond, then that's really a major problem. And that's something that only their management can handle at that point. And pretty much, I feel for the people who may not get paid, but also at the same time, I've always said that it comes back down to business and management. You have to know when you can and when you cannot, afford to do the things the way that you want to do them. Sometimes you have to, pull back on it. And no one would have ever thought that, Diamond would have never paid Dynamite Entertainment the way that they didn't do. But at the same time, you have to protect yourself. But that's just one of the several different things that came up today here or I shouldn't say came up. I mean, I watched Ironheart, and I have problems with Ironheart. Was it bad? Not really. It wasn't bad, but again, I still fault Marvel Studios for not being able to write likable women characters. It's just it just baffles me. It just baffles me in some aspects, and I got into a couple of conversations about that and a couple of arguments. And the arguments that I got into, they understood my standpoint because I wasn't coming from it just from an uninformed point of view. I watched all of this stuff and it's just kind of like it is what it is here for right now. I gotta turn off the notifications here because that's just going to be annoying me here. But watching Ironheart, it's just so many different things that I come back and I come back and look at it, and I look at what other influencers, if I could say in those terms, were saying about the show and everything. And in a way, I kind of getting the aspect of, maybe, Tony Weaver Jr. probably going to come over here and say, it's like, maybe I need to get some therapy because I don't see how can I put this? The hate that is garnered for this TV series is not warranted in the way that a lot of people is presenting why they don't like it. I say that it's okay to meh, but I see the problem of them not being able to write good, likable female characters. Riri comes off as a arrogant son of a from the jump. From the jump. A person that don't want to take accountability for nothing. And then being placed in the stereotypical role, dealing with being from Chicago and all the stuff that's going on and everything there. And then the people who writing it don't want to use the access to things such as Wakanda and Shuri and all this other stuff. And it's just like, why are you doing this? It's like, why are you doing this? Granted, you divorce yourself from canon from the comics. I could live with that. But at least write a likable character. All of season 1, we thought we were going to have a breakthrough at the end where Riri starts to take accountability for her actions. Only at the very end to do something that is so mind-boggling that you kind of beg to question, did she realize what she did? But it just I don't know. So you bought a pumpkin? Isn't it early for a pumpkin? It was a piece of a pumpkin, not the whole thing. Oh, okay. It was a piece of a pumpkin. Okay. So all up there, it's like, oh, it's like it's kind of early for pumpkins here. But getting back to what is being talked about with Ironheart. And I'm trying to do this without spoilers because, until people see it, I can't go into really deep detail of why certain things I just could not stand. I just really could not stand. And it played into me not liking how they portrayed Riri. She says, like to eat. Oh, it's from Jamaica. Okay. But saying all that to say, is it a bad television series? No, it wasn't a bad series overall. But it introduced things that is not common for Riri Williams to deal with. such as magic. And I'm up there like, really? Y'all going to try to go the old school 1990s, Tony Stark and Mandarin, the whole magic type deal going with that? Now, there were certain characters that came up that I was like, okay, so they're trying to kind of sort of set up like a rogue gallery for Riri. I give them a little bit of props for that, but why, the if I could say the sub villain of this show, because the main big bad is the main big bad, and the main big bad should not be a Ironheart villain, not at all. And Sasha Cohen did a great job playing this character. But nevertheless, that big bad should have not been a Ironheart villain. But we're going to see what they do. We're going to see what they do here. We're going to see what they do and how they do it here. And on top of that, I finally got a chance to watch Captain America: Brave New World. And again, I feel that it's a somewhat decent movie. They just got certain characters wrong again. I like what Harrison Ford brought to the table as President Thunderbolt Ross. I would not believe if he played more of a general type, I wouldn't believe it. But as a president, he made it believable. If Thunderbolt Ross ever became president, he pulled off the president air of a Thunderbolt Ross. Not too much military wise, president wise, and knowing how to manipulate things and everything to that magnitude, he pulled off very well. Things that I didn't like was the characterization of Isaiah Bradley in this one. And the thing that got Isaiah Bradley caught up in this movie, all of that stuff just went against what he brings to the table as the first Cap. And I don't think he would have been easily manipulated in the way that he did. The second thing that I didn't truly like here is when we finally had the reappearance of Doc Blue as the leader. I thought it was going to be much more fanfare and much more destruction than what it was. And then for a movie that was supposed to be the introduction to Red Hulk, we only got to see him in the last maybe 25 to 30 minutes of the movie. If that. But the overall story that was being told about people changing and people having second chances, it made its mark. It made its mark. It speaks to the fact that Sam is better off as Captain America, especially without the super soldier serum. And again, what Steve said to him is still ringing true, even in movies dealing with Sam. And it is setting up for a new set of Avengers movies where Sam is going to lead the Avengers. So it's going to be interesting. Sam Wilson, Captain America, leading the next generation of Avengers. Very, very interesting, nonetheless. But we haven't got there yet. Don't know what Marvel Studios are going to do to really get there for the next generation of Avengers and who's going to make this new Avengers team. Sam is a good pick to lead them, nonetheless. He's not Steve, and I just want people to get past that. It's like Steve has his heyday in the MCU, and in the MCU, that's all well and done. We're not going to have Tony back. Thor is still kicking around. Hulk is still kicking around. It's just a lot of characters that are still kicking around that could make a good Marvel Cinematic second generation Avengers team if it gets that far. But that's the big if it gets that far. What I also find weird about Brave New World is that Brave New World now introduced adamantium officially in the MCU. So that would mean characters like Wolverine would now be viable to come in to Marvel Studios as far as the Marvel Studios is concerned here. Not because of what was done in Deadpool and all this other stuff. A lot of the X-Men stuff dealing with Sabretooth, Wolverine, and a lot of the stuff dealing with adamantium now is viable. But then again, I really wish they would resolve everything from Eternals. We got part of that explanation in Brave New World, but we didn't get a full explanation of it. And it's weird because the way Brave New World broke it down is that the world was clamoring over vibranium, and now because they stopped the creation of the Celestial, the remnants of the Celestial now gave them the means to produce the compound of adamantium. And I was like, oh, that's where they're going with this. And they're treating the body that is sticking up out of the earth as an island. So I'm up there like, well, if they're taking that as an island, and this is supposed to be a place where they can mine adamantium or create adamantium, and I was like, what place in the Marvel universe was like that? And off the top of my head, I couldn't remember, but it brings up some very interesting ways to start bringing in people like the X-Men and other characters. But nevertheless, it's just going to be what it is for right now. I really don't have any hate for Brave New World other than the fact of how they just treated Isaiah Bradley more so than anything else. And to be quite honest, Isaiah Bradley needs his own series. People need to know what he went through. And the reason why the federal government treats him the way that they treat him. Is he really a loose cannon? No. But the way that the MCU is making it, he's the Cap that you don't want to see on the battlefield. He's the one that really got his hands dirty. And that's the reason why they don't want him out there. Or at least the reason why they jailed him for so long. Just to protect their own selves. But that happens a lot when you have a lot of dirty hands. Get involved with things it matters where you get your hands dirty, and the powers that be, instead of being grateful, they treat you like a commodity. But that makes sense. It makes sense story-wise, but what they did in that movie didn't make sense for his character. I also saw Squid Game, the last season of Squid Game, and I already talked about that a little bit on Comic Book Spectrum. And hopefully you guys saw a lot of that. This so-called season 3, or as I call it, season 2.5, because it's the second half of season 2, made me not like season 2 and then the so-called season 3, because they really didn't delve into certain aspects of the story that they built up the way that they needed to. The one thing that they did resolve is what Guillaume and Frontman, that battle between Guillaume and Frontman, and the understanding the difference between the two, both being winners of Squid Game, and how they see the world got very resolved by the end of the so-called season 3. And we saw the change, kind of like a, not really getting to spoiler, but it's kind of spoiler-ish. We did see kind of like a change of heart from Frontman as a result of what happened at the end. Did it change everything? No. But he kind of had a change of heart as far as how he viewed the world because of what Guillaume did. But nevertheless, the cast of season 2, I must say, some of them story-wise, when they got killed, it was just some of the, a few of them made me angry. A few of the deaths made me angry. And it was so messed up because of the simple fact that they added something that nobody ever thought about happening in the middle of a Squid Game. And because it happened, it changed a lot of the dynamics, and certain characters ended up, as they say, concludified, as Michael Curl would say, concludified by their own hands. But it is what it is here. It is what it is. Do I like what they did with season 3, season 2.5? No. I feel like we got gypped. I honestly felt like we got gypped, and we got gypped on one of the major storylines of Squid Game, dealing with the brother of Frontman, the detective. We got gypped on that story big time. But like I said, no spoilers. So I can't tell you what actually went on and how it went down and everything. But we did get gypped on that story. And the thing that people don't realize here, and because this is considered season 3, the one thing that I can say about the detective is that there was a reason why Frontman spared him. Did that reason come out clearly in season 3? No, not at all. Not at all. I mean, it was, to me, season 2 and season 3 add new characters that made Squid Game interesting, but because Netflix wanted to end it in 2 seasons, we didn't get the full array of all the stories being told the right way. Oh, we got Don here. Don is in the house. Good evening, Don. I'm not doing too much this evening here, just talking about some of the stuff that I watched over like the last couple of days. I was talking about Squid Game, the end of Squid Game as of right now, without doing spoilers. So that's the key thing. It's like I'm trying to do this spoiler free, and for the most part, I think I'm really doing good with that. And no, I'm not going to tell you. I'm not going to tell you the last 3 games. For those who watch season 2, I'm not going to tell you what the last 3 games are. in Squid Game. However, game 5, which is usually the game that they have never had one there before, was interesting too. That one was interesting. I still don't believe it was as good as Glass Bridge, but it was interesting. It was interesting enough because of the situation that had happened. Oh, you haven't watched the new season. If you are curious about what really went down at the end at the end of episode 6 of the second season, continue watching. And Aaron's in the house. There's Aaron. And Parallax is greeting everybody right now. But that's my key thing here. There's a lot of stuff that went down after. I mean, a lot of stuff that changed the dynamics. A lot of stuff here. And like I was saying before you got here, there was also a change of heart within frontmen dealing with Guillaume, or in this case, 456. So there was a change of heart at the end. But you're going to see what brought on that change of heart. It's not something that's, like I said, I can't really talk about it because I'm doing it spoiler free. So it's like, I will watch it eventually. It's like I don't like waiting, so I watch things when they are done. But we'll see it. It is done. Season 3 is over with. It's already over with. It was released on, I want to say, June 26th, the whole entire third season. So it's like within like the last week, you could have watched all of Squid Game. And like I said, certain deaths in between season 2 and season 3 made me angry, very, very angry. And it made me angry because the people who didn't deserve it ended up getting concludified. Like I say, I'm using terms from Michael Curl, getting concludified by their own hands, except for one. No, I'll take that back. Yeah, except for one. And that person shouldn't have been concludified for doing the noble thing. Should not have. They did right by the people that they were with. And I would leave it at that. I would leave it at that here because I don't want to really get into it because you haven't watched it as of yet. But I watched that. I'm trying to think of all the other stuff that came out recently that I haven't seen or people were talking about or had some hate on. I know people had some hate on Ironheart. I watched all of that here. Yeah, there's problems with that show. Is it bad? Not really. In my terms, it's somewhere between okay and meh. And the only reason it's between okay and meh is because of the way that they wrote Riri Williams and the big bad that she had to deal with in this particular season. The person who we thought was the big bad is really not the big bad. We get to see the actual one at the very end. And when we find out what they were, you go like, why? Riri is not ready for something like that. Why? And then for a person that was supposed to be going through a redemption arc, how in the world that she doesn't how in the world she gets away with not still being accountable for her actions? I just don't know. As I started this whole conversation dealing with Ironheart, I just don't understand how Marvel Studios cannot write likable women characters. They just fall down. It's like, I know people had some hate on Kamala Khan. I like how they did Kamala Khan. I like how they did She-Hulk to a certain degree. I like how they did Monica Rambeau. Carol Danvers, I don't want to get started. I really don't want to get started because they messed up that character. And then, like I said, in a conversation that I had before the show tonight here, we actually talked about the movie Marvels. And he brought up, it's like, well, the person that I talked to brought up the fact that it's like he didn't understand how most people on the internet didn't like the one scene where she goes to the one planet where she was married and everybody sings in music as if they in a musical. And I was like, it's like, don't they understand what the writers were trying to do there? They were trying to lighten the mood. They were trying to make Carol to be likable. They put her in a situation to make her likable, to make her come down a couple of notches on that seriousness and that intensity that she always had, to be like stone face. I'm always stone face. I'm going to do everything stone face, to actually have some fun. But they complained about it. And the thing about it is, like, that scene was only like 5 to 10 minutes long. It didn't monopolize the story at all. It was like done and over with like that. But it is what it is. Because they make them and do it. I wouldn't say it in those terms, but you do have a point there. They do start them off as arrogant, just, I got a chip on my shoulder for no apparent reason type deal. Even with Riri, they started that stuff off again, just exactly. It's almost like how can I put this? Almost like Carol Danvers 2.0. The way that they ended Miss Marvel, the TV show, was some of the it was dumb. It was dumb, but it played into the movie. It made it, the incident that happened at the very end played into what was going on in the movie. And I just left there like, you could have ended this thing better and not even have that scene from the TV show be the jump on point for the movie. No, y'all could have just left that part out and just just had a nice happy go lucky ending, and then we get to go to see the Marvels and stuff like that happens. But no, they ruined the end. They ruined the end of that just to have a starting point or a starting reference point for those who watch Miss Marvel to go see the Marvels movie. And it just didn't work very well here. Yeah, it's me, Beanie, Friend, Little Lacey, and Don. Don is here too. And the Marvels trailer made Kamala Khan so obnoxious and whiny, so that's the other thing that that him and I talked about. That was literally only one trailer. That trailer didn't do any justice. They did not advertise that movie during the COVID era like they supposed to. They really didn't promote it. And again, Kamala can't, Kamala did come off a little bit whiny and everything, but then again, why did Monica come off brooding? in some of the trailers. I mean, the way that they hyped up the Marvels as a movie, there was little to no advertising. And then what we did get didn't make people want to go see the movie. Put it this way, knowing how you are, you would have been like, no, I'm not going to see that mess. Just based upon the trailer. But when you see the movie, it's just like, oh, this is not bad. This is not bad. And I still stand by my original standpoint. It's like it was a good movie to go see Monica and Kamala, but it didn't help Carol at all. That first Captain Marvel movie ruined Carol Danvers for good for the MCU. It's going to be awfully hard for writers now to make Carol Danvers likable. And yeah, that's when you get writers who put things in to feel like it's modernized and it's out of context, out of true context. It's just something that would relate. It's that check box type writing that there's up here. It's like, oh, do we have catchphrases over here? Yes. Do we have catchphrases that would catch the urban market? Oh yeah, let's circle that to make certain that we have something like that up in there. And we're going to put 2 more checks by that here. Are we going to talk about empowerment? Yeah, we're going to put a couple more check marks over here. So far we got a pretty decent movie. We just have to make certain of one other thing here. We had our test market before. It was like, we got to try to find a way to make Carol Danvers likable. Okay, we're going to have kind of like a musical number to make her seem like she's kind of cool and everything, that she's not always stone faced and always in resting bitch face and all this other stuff, and always have this chip on her shoulder to be like the most powerful character in the MCU. Yeah, that's how we're going to get people to like it. Yeah, that's how we fix it. Did they? No. That's why I said writers killed Carol from that first movie. And it was nothing that the Marvels could do to fix that. Nothing. Zero. Matter of fact, they almost put the death note to Monica with kind of like some of those lines there that you talked about. It's Samuel Jackson. He said something. It's something like girl, get your that seed left my mind until you brought it back. And it's like, I don't believe it's those words, but it was something similar to that when they was constantly swapping different places. And he said something to that magnitude to Monica. I was like, yep. It would have broken his character or Samuel. Yeah. Yeah, he wanted to say something like that, but he couldn't. And Samuel would have made that line work. He would have made that line work here. Just like he made certain lines work with Kamala, and especially with her mom. With Kamala's mom, oh my goodness, Samuel, the way he delivered some of those lines to her mom to get her to calm down, that was priceless. Yeah. Yeah, it's like if he would have said it in the way that only he could say it, I bet you everybody would have been busted up laughing. And he probably could not say keep it in a straight face either. No, he needed to. If he would have said that line, everybody would have been busted up laughing. They would have been busting up laughing. Again, Samuel is being Samuel. He's being nice, serious Samuel. Just like when he first sees Kamala Khan, it was like you looking at Nick Fury. She's looking at Nick Fury. Nick Fury looking at you. It's like she hits the window. It's like, I know who you are. I know who you are. I was like, if he's going like that look of, what is this fangirl doing outside this secret base? Guardians 3 cracked me up when Nebula couldn't figure out the corridor. Yeah. Why would she know how a car door works? She never experienced a car door. And then Guardians 3, you want to know the one thing that I wish they would have done in Guardians 3 that would have just sent me to the moon and back, and I would have been laughing about it? And that would have been Nebula actually getting with Star-Lord. Because it would have been like, oh yeah, it's like, oh yeah, the Gamora that we knew is dead. And we know how you love your Gamora and this, that, and the other. And it's like, and I know how you love to cherish Gamora as your sister. And it would have been like, it would have been like that weird, awkward relationship, because it's like, if it wasn't for your sister, it's like, I could have been doing this. And it's like, if it wasn't for my sister, I probably would have been, tortured even more by Thanos and this, that, and the other. It didn't work. Get the fucking. But that would have been so classic, especially after they found the alternate version of Gamora, and it was up, and he's up there. It's like, yeah, we used to be together, this, that, and the other. And she would have came back and smacked him upside the head. It's like, that's not the same Gamora. It's like, stop reminiscing in the past. Live it in the now. But Guardians 3, the thing that made me like Guardians 3 more so than anything is the fact that the franchise was technically passed to Rocket. And having Rocket's story told the way that it was. That made me happy. That made me happy here. That Rocket is more of a deeper character than most people realize. And they did it right in the cinematics. Yep. But it also made me not like the abomination that they call the High Evolutionary. That's not the High Evolutionary that we got. The true High Evolutionary that we should have had in the Marvel in the MCU. That's their amalgamation of all these different characters to become what they thought was the High Evolutionary. And that's where I get back to some of the things that I was saying in Comic Book Spectrum about writers not respecting lore and canon. They look at, oh, that's a cool idea. That's a cool character to work with. The High Evolutionary, this, that, and the other. But he doesn't work for Guardians of the Galaxy. Well, we can make him work. We just going to strip this and strip that and strip that. And we're going to create this character to be exactly this way. Let's just say that he becomes like a good villain and people like him. And we get back to that whole thing about the whole crossover conversation about audience. The audience know that he's a comic book character. They try to go to their local comic book monger and be like, I want to read more stories with the High Evolutionary, and they get on the books for the High Evolutionary, and the High Evolution is nowhere near to that. Nowhere near. You kind of sold that movie watcher a bad character. But that's just it is, understanding the crossover and everything here. Rocket has more acting range than Elizabeth Olsen. Changed my mind. I am not going to take that challenge. I'm not going to take that challenge because why? You want to know why? If Elizabeth Olsen had more range, we would have never got Agatha all along. Just saying. Just saying. Agatha all along would have never happened if Elizabeth Olsen had range. But who's to say? And again, it just goes to show how, Marvel Television do a lot of the women characters. Wanda Maximoff, at least the Avengers version of Wanda Maximoff, should have never gone down that dark road that they did. And then, Multiverse of Madness really showed that, yes, she should have been a villain. She should have been the villain. She should have gone, they should have grabbed her and been like, nope, we're about to put you in an X-Men movie. You have to be Wanda Maximoff over here in the X-Men. Which one? Agatha all along or WandaVision? Agatha all along should have never been a show. It shouldn't have never been a true show. But what they did is they progressed what was going on in the MCU/television universe. It was a progression. Because again, they was trying to set Agatha up. They're trying to set Agatha up to be kind of like that vehicle to get us to a possible Young Avengers. And I would have never thought that they would eventually get us to Wiccan in this movie. I should say in the movie, in the TV series, that we actually got Wiccan in the MCU or the television universe. We finally got Wiccan. So technically, we could almost get a Young Avengers TV series. But again, that's the whole point. The whole point was they were trying to progress characters to be in the MCU. My whole thing here is, they're up here with looking at ways to do Fantastic Four. Fantastic Four could have been done through Agatha all along. But no, we don't want it. We don't want to spoil. We don't want to spoil Fantastic Four with a known Fantastic Four villain. No, we're not going to have Reed Richards, intertwined with Agatha Harkness. Okay, all right. We're not going to call Cumberbatch to do a television show and let him deal with it. What can we do? Oh yeah, we just going to try to do this whole interdimensional thing to kind of sort of bring in Young Avengers by saying that Billy found a way to put his body in another dying person at the time the whole collapse of the alternate universe that Wanda created happened. Now, here's the other thing about that. Which is messed up when you truly think about it. which universe is in control of MCU? Because Multiverse of Madness, we saw evil version of Wanda versus a somewhat sane version from WandaVision. And the sane one ended up taking out the messed up Darkhold version. So that would technically change how WandaVision would have been done at that point in time. And did Tommy and Billy actually die? Those are the types of things that they're not going to answer because they wrote themselves in a corner. But it is what it is. Why are you going to put me in the category of, with Moon Knight and Alpha Flight? Now, Moon Knight, the TV series, could have been better, and I still feel this way when it comes to Moon Knight, the TV series. They did multiple personality syndrome better in Iron Fist dealing with Typhoid Mary. But that's just me. That's how it was originally written. The writers were like, you can't have a white man beat the heroine of the show. I'm not, and it's like, but I'm not. It's like, but I'm like, she's not the hero. But that's the whole thing. That's one of the reasons why I don't like how they are doing women characters, especially women characters that may have a redemption arc. AKA Agatha Harkness technically had a redemption arc. Her redemption came through Wiccan. People keep forgetting the whole thing about the witch's road was just a way of Agatha taking their powers and killing them. Wiccan actually made it a actual role with his powers, and that was the one thing that he really wasn't expecting. He actually was killing off his coven without him truly knowing it. And it took Agatha to say, it's like, no, you didn't kill everybody. One survived. And she was right. One did survive. It may have made her stronger in the long run, but one did survive. So he wasn't as I could say as evil as what he could have been. But it is what it is here. She was laughing and said, I like your reaction to Moon Knight and Alpha Flight. Yeah, because it's like I shouldn't be in that same category. And I still feel a way about the Moon Knight TV series. They did multiple personality syndrome better with Typhoid Mary and Iron Fist. There was a very good distinction between the personalities, and the actress that they got to play Typhoid Mary was closer to what she was in the comic books than the actor that they got to play Moon Knight. Not to say that the story that they told was good, bad, or indifferent, but it just didn't feel like Moon Knight to me. And no, there's not an Alpha Flight TV series. That's only the comic books, and we know how a certain person hates and dislikes Alpha Flight. As she called it, it is a dime store X-Men, a dime store Canadian X-Men. But it is what it is. But saying all that to say here, in the bigger scheme of things, when you look at the Marvel television and Marvel movies itself, that dynamic of building good franchises around certain characters, it just seems like it just seems like the internet would automatically hate certain characters right away and try to put up roadblocks to just not like the series. Or in this case, with a lot of the female characters, they don't write them in a way to make them likable. Because everybody was waiting for Captain, and that's the thing. As popular as Carol Danvers is in the comic books amongst comic book readers, when that movie hit, there was a dislike by both comic book readers as well as movie goers. That's never a good thing. That tells me whatever story that you told was not great. In addition to that, having the actress pretty much said what they said about said movie going audience did not help. I mean, it was just like, it's almost like, might as well kill that character off here. But you can't just kill a good character off like that. They didn't want to recast it. I could understand that and not recasting it and everything, but still, it was just one of those things that it should have never gotten that far. Never. But getting to that point here, just looking at that, the real problems with She-Hulk was more along the lines they got away from source material, and they made it in such a way where it's like they was more worried about keeping up with like the fourth wall and all the stuff that Byrne did in the comic book series, that they didn't write a very good overall character in Jennifer Walters. I like how they did Mallory Book. I like how they did her. I like how they did their initial boss. If you remember the old school Dan Slott, the first run of Dan Slott, really dealing with superhuman law. And again, that's another thing that we have to really thank Iron Fist. As much as people hate Iron Fist started superhuman law, which made She-Hulk possible. Giving us Mallory Book the way that she was. I don't care that they did the whole ethnicity swap on her. The actress that played Mallory Book played a great Mallory Book. That's just what it is. The stroll of shame with Charlie Cox Daredevil, priceless. And even better, the so-called trial to get Abomination out of jail with Wong. That's like, oh yeah, I got him out of here. It's like he didn't coerce me and this, that, and the other. It's like I was in need of him to do some things here, yada 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 yada. He really didn't break out. Everything is all good. It's like, okay, fine. But Mr. Wong, we need you to stay here. We need you to stay here because we believe that you have violated all these laws. It's like, oh, I gotta go. Sorry about that. The universe needs me elsewhere. See you later. He pulls up a portal and walks through it. Yeah, I must depart. Portal. But that's the type of stuff that you would expect in later modern day issues of She-Hulk. This is why I didn't have a problem with the Jim Bartel stuff, because the Jim Bartel stuff was a lot like what they was trying to get across in the TV show. Now the TV show writing muddled it up with all this other stuff about Marvel movies and all of this other stuff about how come audience didn't like this, and talking about as Parallax would say, the W word with all the different type of writers and all the other type of stuff, and who makes the ultimate decision. And they saying that Feige was really a robot, and it's like, we didn't need all of that. Just write a good script for a television end and season end, and you're good. But no, we got that hodgepodge of all this other stuff, breaking the whole so-called breaking of the fourth wall, only to get the whole thing about intelligentsia spreading the lies about her, and Jennifer finally seeing it for the first time, and she actually loses control, which was the thing that Bruce told her not to do. But again, poor writing. Oh, Bruce, I got everything under control. I'm doing all this stuff. I'm doing all this stuff and better than you. And I've only been a Hulk for like 5 minutes. Okay. Yeah. And how did that end out at the end of your season finale? You lost control, and now you have to suffer the consequences for it. Yeah, Bean just learned Bobby Jinx just passed away, and wanted you to know because you were a fan of, yeah. But Bobby Jinx hasn't been in the best of health ever since he left the White Sox. And that was a big dude too. That he was a big dude, Sadly enough, he wasn't all that great of a pitcher, but he just had a great fastball. But that's the whole thing. Yeah. Stomach cancer. Yeah, it was known that he was not in the best of health as of late. So it doesn't surprise me that he passed. It's just more along the lines like we didn't know, at least fans like me didn't know what was going on. We just know that he has been up and down as far as his health is concerned. But anyway, getting back to what we were talking about with characters in the Marvel universe, and sadly, the slippery slope with Dale and women characters all started with Black Widow, the Black Widow movie, and how they dealt with Scarlett Johansson. Oh, great. See, that's why you have to have snack cakes in reserve. You have to have them in reserve because of those types of things here. That way you don't have to deal with anybody so-called stealing them. You'd be like, aha, I stole your snack cake. Okay, that's fine. Chomp. You have one right there. Be like, oh. But Unky Joe, I can't have reserve because I eat them often. You know what I mean. You know what I meant. You have to have your reserve supplies somewhere hidden that they don't know about. So when they do steal it, you be like, aha, I got my replacement one right here. Sucks to be you. Yeah, I have more. It's just funny because they just go yoink when they grow. So they just having fun. They just messing with you. That's the reason why they do what they do. They just having so much fun. But getting back to the whole thing, the slippery slope with It's like, It's like, yeah, they will open it and share it. At least they share. Yep, at least they do. But the thing is that slippery slope started with the Black Widow movie and how they did Scarlett Johansson. And I think after that, it just seems like the writing for a lot of stuff when it comes to their women characters either set them up to not be likable or they're just problems in the show that makes people go like, why did you do that? Oh boy. I won't do that. I won't do that. And the reason why I'm laughing because the thing only thing I was thinking right then was an old school old school commercial jingle. It's like they walk in the room, they see you, go like hostess. Now that's the stuff. Yoink. And like he said, snack cake gone. Like I said, you have to have that secret supply somewhere else because they just see it, yoink, see it, yoink. But getting back to the thing at hand, ever since the Black Widow movie, it just seems like they either do something really, really strange at the very end of a movie or a TV series dealing with a female-led TV series, or they they just make the character unlikable. You know, Miss Marvel to me was like a breath of fresh air until they did what they did at the very end. She Hulk was okay. There was a lot of great moments, but the season finale just destroyed the series. It literally destroyed the series. And we could even put up with the Kool-Aid Man Titania. Titania. We could put up with that. We could put up with that. I still wish that they would have done the real Titania, not this media influencer, because again, we don't want people to know comic book history. We want to make her the way that she is. She's just going to be a superpowered media influencer. There is no such thing as that in the comic books. Titania is what she is. And she's not even the original Titania. And that's what makes me even more angry. Because everybody wants to compare Davida Devoto, the first Titania, with Mary McPherson, which is the second one. The one that we got in the TV series is really Mary McPherson, not Davida Devoto. Why I made that major distinction? Because Davida Devoto was a part of the original grapplers, the original 4 grapplers. I held up 3, now I got 4. Okay. Beanie, I had a finger mishap. So that's the reason why I went like that. I was like, went like that. So there was 4 of them. Titania, Pound Cakes, Letha, and Screaming Mimi. Screaming Mimi eventually became Songbird of the Thunderbolts. Pound Cakes and Letha, they kept being a part of the grapplers after the death of Davida Devoto. But it is what it is. It's like my supply is now drained here. I will have to go to the kitchen and restock. You see, I'm not going to say that. I'm not going to say that. I'm going to keep. I'm going to keep that. I'm going to keep that to myself because I don't want Fran mad at me. Little goober thieves. I don't want. I don't want Fran mad at me because the first thing that came to my mind after you said that is like, oh, simple. Just go ahead and get a biometric lock for keeping your snack cakes. Oh, that's right. Those things cost thousands of dollars. And knowing you, you'd be like, Fred, get me that. Get me that. And that would be the end. That would be the end of me because she don't want to spend thousands of dollars just for one biometric lock to put like on a drawer or a door. She don't want to spend thousands of dollars for that. So yeah. But as I was saying, it's like it's kind of like getting that way. I won't talk about the other controversial thought that I had too dealing with the comic book industry, unless you guys want me to get talk really kind of lay it out to you. Because the other thing is dealing with the aspect of TNA books. And one of the things that always grinds my gears about TNA books. And like I said, I could be absolutely positively wrong with it, but I won't go into it unless you guys want me to discuss it. But it is what it is here. Outside of that, I'm thinking to myself, it's like maybe this is a good point to end the show here, but I'm not certain what you guys have on your minds today because, like I said, this is a fully interactive show. I don't like monopolizing the show, talking about different things here, that only interests me. I want to keep it up and lively and everything. And besides, I've been talking about stealing snack cakes all day, and that's kind of like the thing. The thing of the moment is stealing of snack cakes. But I'll probably save that thought, the controversial thought that I've been wrestling with myself here. And I could honestly say in the books that I tend to do, it it bothers me because it just takes me into that mode of why haven't more creators and artists gone this route as opposed to sticking to the thing that drives people up the wall. But like I said, I will save that for another show unless you guys want me to expound upon it today. Outside of that, I think we're getting closer and closer to CGC sending me back some of the books that I sent off to them. I believe the modern stuff that I sent off that I gave to them at C2E2, the modern stuff would hit the 1 month mark, I believe, as of this week. So they should either be almost finished being graded or getting close to the end of the grading period for that 30 days. That's if they're still on schedule. Most likely they are because I haven't heard anything about delays or anything like that off of their website and everything. And then towards the end of the month, I will know the grades to my Lois Lane 106, the Wonder Woman 205 and 206. So I have one of those being graded for all of them shortly as well. And like I said, I've been constantly working on books. I've been doing my comic book page work and everything. I haven't been showing a lot of artwork as of yet. But then again, I still got some sketchbooks back here that I need to, well, when I say sketchbook, I talk about sketch cover type stuff here. Like here is Zatanna #1, even though it has the white page in front of that, I have sketch cover books that I could do some stuff on just to get back into the practice of drawing sketch covers and everything. There's a Primetime Saturday Night #1 that I could do a sketch on. But I just haven't been all that ready. And there's a Batman Catwoman #1 from the Black Label series, the original Black Label series. And one thing I haven't used this one as of yet because it is blue. If it was purple, I might have thought about doing a negative space Catwoman on one, but nope. I'm not going to do that because that's just doesn't work very well. And I think that's the only ones that I have out as of right now. But that's just it is what it is here. Ooh, blankies. Yeah. Yeah. Like I said, I try to keep myself busy. I try to keep myself busy and everything here. And then eventually, as money comes in and everything, as more and more money comes in, I'm probably going to end up making more and more of these available once they get graded, once I sign them and grade them. And the reason I don't make mention of this here because I only have one that is graded, but now since I have a partner in crime now, and I say partner in crime, I'm talking about as far as the preservation and as far as the preservation and possible gallery stuff showing here. I have the original AWF #1 first print and the Amazonian 1 first prints that he held on to for dear life. And eventually we're going to get all of these done and signature series and ready to go. So yeah, that's the out of print issue ones and issue ones for those series. Yes, they are out of print. We do not have anymore. And no, I am not going to print up any more here. Preservation. Yep. Yeah, I got Devil Food frosted donuts. But that's still not a snack cake. That's a donut. Donuts is donuts. Snack cake is snack cake. You can't say that a donut is equivalent to a Twinkie or a ding dong or a snowball. A donut is a donut. I'm sorry. oh, it's fresh out of a box. I was about to say, oh, but it's fresh out the. I'm about to say, oh, it's fresh out the oven. Oh, cool. That would be nice, but fresh out the fryer, yeah. Frozen ring dings, ring dings, aka generic ding dongs. If I'm correct, that's if I'm correct, because Hostess called them ding dongs. I think ring dings was the generic equivalent of it. Yeah, my favorite is the baker's donut fresh out of the fryer with sugar on top. But that's one of the things that I haven't had in a long while. I'm thinking about Krispy Kreme donuts, not the eclairs, but the actual Krispy Kreme glazed donuts here. And then if it's Dunkin' Donuts, it would be the strawberry frosted donuts, or the other one, the butterscotch frosted donuts. Yeah, Krispy Kreme is man unless you get them. Yep, I know. Either fresh out of the fryer or you have to heat them up. You cannot eat a Krispy Kreme donut cold. You have to heat it up for you to get the goodness out of a Krispy Kreme. A hot Krispy Kreme donut is where it's at. Dang it. I hate my where my mindset would go, because now I'm up here thinking about the Boondocks and the Luther sandwich. And it's like, yeah, I don't think people are out there actually selling the Luther sandwich here. When I was little, George took me to get one like at 4 o'clock a.m. at the World Trade Center. Hot out the fryer and everything. It was good. I bet you it was good. We used to watch them go down to the conveyor belt and flip into the oil. Yep. And if you're at one of those stores, they do sell them to you right as they get grained and everything and frosted, and it comes out of the machine in the box and be like, here. And it's nice and warm and everything. And it's like the gooiness of that glaze on your hand and everything is just something special. Yeah, they were the main Krispy Kremes that made the donuts to take to their satellite stores. Yep. Yeah, gotta get the itis. Yep. He made me lay down between the two towers and look up and said, "Look how little you are on the earth." Yeah, I was like, "Whoa, chomp, 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 chomp." Yeah, I will never get to do that with Beanie. Yeah, you won't be able to get to do that because why? Those buildings are gone. I try not to think about that because of the simple fact that I know where I was when that happened, and that was not pretty. That was not a good day. That was not a good day for me because I was in Springfield, Illinois. I first started my job with the state of Illinois here, doing doing library. Well, I can't say it's library support, but it's like mainframe support management. It's the best way I could um, describe it for a state agency. And while that was happening, they put us on lockdown. So they locked us down for several hours until after everything was pretty much, they said that it's like they tracked everything down. They stopped all the different airplanes that was scheduled to attack different buildings and everything. And as soon as that report came through, that's when they told us to go home. But yeah, they placed us in lockdown during that time. So I was like, that's not the best feeling to be on where you're in like government buildings and all of a sudden you go into lockdown. But that's not the only time I've been in lockdown. I have been in my career with the state of Illinois. I have been in 3 different bomb threats already, where it was shelter in place while they investigated 3 different bomb threats, all in the same building. But it was just weird. It was weird. Yeah, I remember every time I turned on the East Broadway from Grand Street to go to school, you would see them straight ahead a little over a mile. Yeah. Now I think they only got that light show. I think there's like only the light show that is there. Unfortunately, I will only get to see them in old photographs and TVs because the only time I've been in New York, they were already gone. I did get to see the Statue of Liberty from the plane, but not going out to the island itself. The light show is way further east. Oh, okay. Yeah, the tower light should be in the center of the memorial pools. Yeah. Yeah, I still remember what my coworker said on that day. Everybody keeps saying that that was an attack on the United States. It's like, no, they hit the World Trade Center. It was really they're attacking the world. That's like, you know what? You're right. You're absolutely right. It may happen. It may have happened here on our soil, but because of the nature of the building itself, they were attacking the world. And I was like, you know what? You might be right with that. But it was never a great day when that attack happened. It was not a great day. Yep, they wanted to. Yep, But luckily, the stock market hasn't been in the world. Yeah, in the World Trade Center for years. Yep, exactly. Somebody that doesn't know their history. Somebody that doesn't know their history. But again, the symbolicness of what had happened. Again, one of the reasons why the folk tale of Guy Fawkes would ever burn in infamy, and that's one of the reasons why, at the end of V for Vendetta, when he actually did it successfully, it made a very big statement. They wanted to strike a blow to capitalism and the symbol of New York and the United States. But in doing so, they attacked the world. That's never a good thing. Unfortunately for them, there was nothing like overly valuable from any other country that was in that building. Because that's kind of like the worst thing to have happen. It's like you're going to attack some, it's like your regime is going to attack a country. And in that attack, you end up hitting installations for 2 or 3 other countries that are allied to them. That's never a good thing, because your attack on the country that you're mad at, now you're going to have, multiple countries mad at you because you hit things inside of that country that doesn't belong to them. But yeah, it was just really weird. Yeah, there was nothing like an embassy of the state and stuff. But the simple fact that the World Trade Center was a symbol for the world. But yeah, it was like, yeah, like there was no Latveria embassy yet. Yeah, if like I say, if there was at least one other country's installation that was in the Twin Towers, it would have started a world war. It wouldn't be just something that us here in the United States would have to deal with. It would have been a world war. We wouldn't be able to stop any other country from going after them because they would be within their rights. Totally. Like if the German embassy was located there, they would have lost it. Yep. Even worse. Even worse. What if it was the Russian embassy or the Chinese embassy? It would have been nothing that we could do to stop them from going after the same people that we wanted to go after. It probably would have started a world war, but we avoided that. We avoided that. Just like now, certain things that I just wish certain politicians would just learn their lessons of the past. Despite, the pleasantries being shown, there's just certain things that we need to learn from the past that we just don't do. And all these gentlemen's agreements is not going to keep people at peace. I'm just sorry. It just doesn't work that way. Yeah, they would have turned on their tanks and missiles and not even talked to the UN. Exactly, because even though it was on foreign soil, you still attacked their country. And that's the way that it's looked at. You know, treaties and embassies and everything. It's, even though it may reside in a country, is still, that land and stuff is still considered somebody else's. Yeah, it would be like the end of the Middle East is now closed. Yeah, the embassies are the origin of the origin of country land. Yep, and that's never a good thing. Never a good thing to have happen in if I could say in those times. I mean, even now, it's like I will be very, very, very careful, especially in bigger countries, especially in bigger countries here. Like what's going on now is it in the Middle East, thinking about what's going on there. It's it's weird that with all of the attacks and everything, I kind of want to say that the reason why everybody hasn't gone hog wild is mainly because they're giving people a lot of notice before an embassy gets hit. But let an embassy that is staff get hit in the Middle East, that would be the end of the Middle East. That's why I said it's like all of this pleasantries and all this other stuff is not working like it used to do back in the day. I believe a lot of these regimes are getting to the point where they just don't care. But that's the whole thing here. It's like I've been to the UN, I've been in the big room, I've been to the 86, the 96, and the 102nd floor observatories for the Empire State Building. I've been to the top of the Statue of Liberty. I've been in an actual pyramid. So you've been to Egypt. Now, the pyramids, that's probably one trip I may take if I ever really get a chance to truly afford it without having to worry about consequences. Going to the pyramids and actually, walking inside one without having to worry about the proper credentialing and not worry about the overall country considering certain aspects of possible looting and everything. It would be nice. Oh, pyramid display. I thought you went overseas and actually did that. Yeah, it was a pyramid that has been damaged and they brought it over the chambers and everything for it to be discovered. Yeah, with the sarcophaguses and the items behind glass. Oh, okay. I understand now. So you had one of the touring tombs of a pyramid to come and do all that stuff because our field museum of natural history sometimes get those traveling ones that we get coming around here that actually have the sarcophagi and everything from actual tombs. Yeah, but that's one thing. But going actually to the land to actually see it, that's a whole other thing here. See, that to me would actually be quite impressive. But then again, you know, where you're at, there's probably big enough where you could probably have like a small little pyramid exhibit that they rebuilt it from scratch. Bring it over brick by brick and rebuild it in some type of time in some type of time frame and let people see it. But it's still not the same as going over to Egypt to see it firsthand, to see them firsthand. Yeah, because our field museum is off of Lake Michigan because we have our Shed Aquarium, the Atlas Planetarium, and the Field Museum is right there on the border of Lake Michigan. It's like you could take pretty much Lakeshore Drive to those three museums here. Yeah, Soldier Field is not that bad. I actually watched a couple of football games at Soldier Field. I haven't seen the Bears play. That's the weird thing. I have been to football games in Soldier Field. I just haven't been to a Bears game in Soldier Field. I have never watched the Bears in Soldier Field, but I have watched a couple of Chicago Classics college football at Soldier Field. Oh, since I well outside. No, I have been inside of Soldier Field. It is pretty, yeah, near McCormick. So if you've been to Soldier Field, depending on where you parked at, you were right by Adler Planetarium and Shed Aquarium because they literally shared the same parking lots. You know, Soldier Field shared the same parking lots with McCormick Place, the Shed Aquarium, the Field Museum, and the Adler Planetarium. I've been to the Bean too, yeah, the big silver bean, which to me should not even be a landmark. Yeah, there's a bus between McCormick and Soldier Field parking. Yeah, only during games, only during like games that they have that bus running there. Like when they have like C2E2, that bus doesn't run. It's only for football games that they have that bus running, unless you catch like the one that goes to like the Shed Aquarium or the Field Museum. Yeah, I was like, it is a bean. Yes, it is a bean. It is literally shaped like a silver bean. Yeah, I was at McCormick for the con. Well, not a full size bus, more like a van bus. Okay. Oh, it definitely would have been. It definitely would not have been C2E2, because if it was C2E2, I would be shaking an angry fist. It's like you could have seen me so many times before, so many times before, but you know. No, I kind of feel when you say the van bus, I know what you're talking about. It's like one of those shuttle type deals. See, we no longer friends. We're no longer friends with that. You want to know why? I haven't missed a C2E2 except for 1 year. That 1 year is 2021. That was the second year of COVID. And not once did a certain Sunstrider crew come by to visit at CGC Studios. You would have remembered me if you actually talked to me. You would 2012, considering that the first one was 2010. 2012 was the first year that we was next to Marvel. So you probably saw the booth in 2012 next to Marvel, and because everybody was getting freebies and stuff at Marvel, you just probably passed us by. 2017, was that the first year that they moved us away a little bit further away from Marvel? 2017, you probably would have had to do a little bit of finding us, because Marvel used to have like this big booth, and we always across the way from Marvel. Do you know how many half pregnant girls go to the shows with their guys? That would help me. Yes, it would have been. It would have been because in 2012, I would have released Amazonia 4. Either Amazonia 4 released that year or AWF 4 released that year. Yeah, that's if you actually did stop by and whatnot here. But yeah, I have not missed the C2E2 other than 2021. Yeah, but it's like it's a lot of people that I miss, at C2E2. Like, the last couple of years there was this one lady that would always come with the autograph book and everything. I would always draw her a sketch in that autograph book. Never had any thought about it. Me, it's like, you might have met Joe before you met him. How cool, yeah. Yeah, I mean, like I said before, it's like I would have never thought that people, it's just sad. It's just sad, people like Neil Adams talking to you out of the blue, just because you had a booth that's there, and he saw that you was an exhibitor and he saw that you was quite cool, and he just talked to you out of the blue, just general hi, how are you doing, this, that, and the other, and then at the tail end of the show you get into conversation about how do you deal with this and how do you deal with that and what it's like, and not being like all fanboy and everything. It's just more along the lines like, wow, this is how business deals with you. She and Lils are both singing. Is no way. George Michael Josh had their photo taken with Neil Adams, and he posted it. Yeah. Oh, that had to be something special. Neil Adams with his standard blue shirt. Later that day, Josh Adams, his son, was like, "Yo, it's you three dudes cosplaying as my dad." Yep. I mean, when you get to that level, when you start doing, actual premiere booths and stuff like that, you start really talking to a lot of the more bigger people that's in the industry. And it's like it's not something to brag about, but it is something to always kind of like networking wise. It's like, oh, I have met such and such, and it is a treat to meet them. Oh wow. Josh had the Bat logo, Michael had the Superman logo, and George had the Green Lantern. Yep. And it's like he saw us and then pointed and started laughing. Yep. He was like, I have fans. Of course he had fans. You guys are from New York. You guys are from his old stumping grounds of Continuity Comics. You guys know Neil Adams from way back when. Y'all were fans, when he was like, "Hey, I'm about to make this comeback." I was a nobody. And it's like I still feel like I'm a nobody in some aspects in this industry, but I got to work with some good artists and got to meet a lot of great people, great legends. But I don't hang my hat to say like, well, I talked to such and such and such and such and such. It's like, no, those are nice little experiences, and it's kind of like one of those things. It's like after you talk to them and you get inspired by them, you have to be mindful. It's like I'm the next person that carrying that torch to keep people creating. Yep, continuity is on 32nd Street near Penn Station. the old school Continuity Comics. I think their LA comic book store is called Krusty Bunker or Bunkers or something like that. But yeah, Continuity Comics, the house that Neil Adams built. Anyway, people, we're almost at our 2 hour mark here, so I'm definitely going to save that topic for next week here. Is there anything else that I missed for this week here, as far as what we discussed here, as far as the how Marvel is not treating women characters correctly, or anything accountability wise that I may have forgotten I said that I was going to do, or anything to that magnitude? If not, let's bring this session of From the Desk of a Small Press Publisher to a close here. Then that way I could get back to finishing up these the page that I'm working on and get these last 2 panels rendered, and probably let it by tomorrow. And then I finish up the last page and call that story done. And we'll move on to something else. And like I said, the main thing here is to keep working, keep the stories flowing, keep the pages flowing and everything. And like I said, when I reach that goal where I have these titles far enough along where I could go a year without having to worry about having another issue for a distributor, that's when I'm going to go try to hit up a Penguin, or try to hit up a whoever takes over for Diamond, or hit up a Lunar or something to that magnitude to get distribution out. But for right now, we're going to do what we can through the website. We're going to do what we can through shows. We're going to try to get back on to Whatnot to have books, done there. And, if Aaron is still around, it's like maybe, jump on here, a Monday or two and sell books that way. But eventually we are going to get back to really, really pushing our books here. But my major goal is like, this downtime here is like every time after C2E2, my goal is just getting books done, getting books made. And right now I have 2 issues of Legends of the Giant Slayer done. I'm working on issue number 3 before getting back to either Primetime Saturday Night or Amazonia. And I really need to get on Amazonia because people are looking forward to issue 8. So I've been keeping them in suspense here, but it will get done. So on that note, I'm going to say, live life, grow, and be well. We're giving our East Coast friends at least 3 minutes left of their Saturday, or at least two minutes and some seconds of their Saturday back before they are in the future. And for the rest of us, enjoy the rest of the Saturday. And I'll see you next week right here on From the Desk of a Small Press Publisher. What do you mean, no? No Saturday. No Saturday. Oh, okay. All right. So they want to be in the future, so they go out to be in the future. So on that note, bye.